Welcome to UEOM Internet Church. September 15, 2024, Episode 6. From resounding disseminated information content in a number of online social media formats, obviously, human understanding has barely tapped into limits of our humanity's understanding capability. We are barely at the cusp of recognizing metaphysical generalized conceptioning, while not fully comprehending the human behaviors of local universe, nor having yet eliminated the slave mentality from Earth, like an invisible ball and chain. The unresolved detrimental behaviors are carried over the partially overlapping generations within the PRJW politics, religion, justice, war contextual parameter, as most of us remain ignorant of our metaphysical propensities. Until more humans recognize the inherently inviolable integrity of the individual, that U equal MP, universe equal metaphysical times physical, that each of us has a brain and a mind, and an imagination's ability to conceptually formulate anticipatory reality, which includes validations of our metaphysical propensities, then literally and technically human awareness everywhere on Earth is not adequately informed about physical evolution rates of change and numbers of relevant special case self-retransforming compared with lag rates between apprehension and comprehension correlating with awareness of metaphysical evolution as living products of the complex periodic cycles during the designated 4-year term limits that evidences the continuity of the individual's and the nation's conscious life. This all happens as human personalities and the nation's personality are dynamically interacting. How can humans consciously progress in such a time-limited, self-governing system with the responsibility of voting for the elected official when the fundamental know-how of the most economic way a system can behave relative to unity and self in universe is not yet an expected requirement, when neither the voter nor the anticipated leader has informed referential knowledgeable integrity of the essential phenomena? The responsibility of voting is allocated to the citizens of the nation. It is a nation of laws. The lawmaking power mistakenly abuses such necessity by adding more laws to solve politically enabled problems with no end in sight, as if the rule of law requires more laws, expecting students of law and professionals assigned to concoct law after law in the selection process, hoping the most profitable law will make it to the presidential signature for the final approval, all of which is too complicated for the voting citizens to contemplate, especially when the 4-year re-election cycle in the federal system includes undisclosed bifurcating dichotomies, truncated politically calculated hidden agendas, performed for favors by lobbyists and trusted officials in a revolving turnstile of the governmental system, self-deceiving and otherness-deluding corruptions. Those adapted to exponents are detrimental parts played by the politicians and adjusted to its subtle aberrance by the people who unwittingly advance the exploitation of accumulated monetary wealth and controlling positions by playing along and perhaps rationalizing like behavior which continues working against the voting citizens and the nation's entire population. The voting citizens, during the campaigning months, weeks, days, are enticed by image makers whose incomes and repositioning empowerment skills likewise expect to profit thus. The more cleverly appealing the promoted person's image is, the more likely the voter will choose that personality over the competing candidate. In that image making into retracting hope for improved living conditions, imaginably derived from the promise to the voting citizen who takes every word to heart or tunes it out, since his or her personal family survival seems disconnected from most of the underway complicated business of governmental responsibilities. This could be why the focus of the fewest number of emphasized talking points will be counted on by the voter despite its illogical application to the voter's everyday life. Abortion is one example. Most likely will never involve the average voting person's lifetime of problems to solve. And yet, as a promoted cause in favor or disfavor of the candidate for the highest position in the governing system, it consumes many millions of dollars during the regime change from every sized campaign contribution from self-interested exploiters whose main concern is the winner's power seat, the official whose signature and lawmaking influences the J factor's prosecutorial power seems to be the ultimate grand prize. To provide full life support for all humans, with mindful awareness of the metaphysical truths that produce the commonwealth realities of human life support, it ought to be a major focus. The commonwealth as such ought to be one of the main concerns as a contextual parameter during the entire self-governing process, primarily because it is not a PRJW specialized selection like the abortion context seems to be, to distract the voters and those who are not by law permitted to vote, but who nevertheless are relevant numbers in the nation's entire population. Not only is everyone's brain mind relevant to awareness of the metaphysical truths that produces the commonwealth realities of human life support, so too does everyone require its life-sustaining energy from natural resources. Commonwealth, according to Oxford University Press Dictionary, is an independent state or community, especially a democratic republic. A commonwealth can be an aggregate or grouping of states or other bodies. The commonwealth must not assume to be synonymous with the general good, since interpretations of the general good may tend to promote politically biased, judgmental evaluation. From every interacting relevant aspect throughout the 4-year cycle, the Commonwealth realities are constituted by 100% of the population when the objective is an ongoing, consciously coordinated intention to form a more perfect union. Forming a more perfect union will always be the coexisting aspiration that logically and omni-rationally induce cogent, responsible conceptualities of the individual, systemic thoughts, continuity of conscious life. In 1949, R. Buckminster Fuller, a renowned American philosopher, architect, inventor, and more, whose discoveries and wisdom inspired his own insights to write an essay, Total Thinking, included in his published book, Ideas and Integrities, which can be rephrased throughout 21st Century Humanities, TUCP, the Universal Communications Process. It reads, in quotes, "The continuity of conscious life becomes personality as a product of complex periodic interactions known as cycles or periodic recurrences of a higher frequency order," end quote. The election and limited term in an office cycle involves a personality as a product of the interactions. The 4-year cycle within which everyone's personality and the personality of the nation as a democracy, a republic, a lawmaking, law-abiding, consciousness evolution process comprises mere drops in the bucket that can be conceptualized as the minimum structural system that every man, woman, and child contributes their coexisting whole WHOLE part, and which easily can be cognized and recognized as a tetrahedron. Before lackadaisically indifferent or predominantly supposedly clever, mindless, biased inductions as an observer of this United States of America, a relatively new nation, becomes an alien form of government by communistic specializations where the presidential signature is controlled by CCP, China's Communist Party, which has been, unbeknownst to most of us, the entire population for a number of years now. Instead, let's start our cosmic to local information gathering, problem-solving proclivities to form a more perfect union by commencing with universe. It is from universe that the first subdivision of its eternal self-regenerating patterning integrity is derived, as multiplication only by division is the conceptuality of a tetrahedron's one unit of energy, a quantum module. Surely party politics is an exasperating problem-making, compromising specialization that the average person, myself included, truly has no idea of. As we process the intertransforming information, which initiates and reiterates oppositions to the inherent integrity when intending to form a more perfect union. The idea of forming a more perfect union emanated from the nation's constitution. It continues to represent a preliminary, essential contextual parameter. On the other hand, CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, a totalitarian government, chose the word party. Amazingly, party is least known as a part. Whether celebrating any memorable occasion or identifying the party of the first part. Logically, a true democracy cannot be a party plan. A part that cannot predict the whole, WHOLE, which is said of synergy, the behavior of the whole system that cannot be predicted by any part when the part is separately considered. Political parties tend to keep humans divided and apart by law, by self-survival, as well as self-serving reactions to politically contrived, unbalanced, deplorable environmental conditions. One whole system at minimum, as the first subdivision of universe is topologically consistent, comprising 6 lines as vectors or edges, 4 corners as vertexes, as the centers of equiradius closest packed spheres, and 4 triangular faces, windows, or openings. Human imagination's inherent ability to formulate conceptually is designed by universe eternal omniscient mind, UEOM, with a brain and a mind, the synergetic mind that discovers brain as its lifelong computer. Essential minimum rudiments of our individual imagination conceptually formulating a more perfect union require awareness of the whole WHOLE system and the acquired experiential knowledge that systems always alter other systems. So, the minimum structural system's eternal self-regenerating pattern integrity logically is essential concerning all developing discoverable truths as TLBSWME, truth, love, beauty, symmetry, wisdom, maximum economy at minimum would not contradict the individuals of a nation whose living lifetime perpetually anticipates forming a more perfect union. Such an anticipatory design science projection will ever be an omni-rational aspiration toward which humanity's concentrated focuses aspire to achieve it within every subsequent cycle that consciousness evolution succeeds accomplishing in forward-directed time, modifying angles and frequencies as the most economical evidential achievements in the preceding cycle. It helps to recall the only 2 possible covariables that are operatives in all universe design, which is only accomplished by modification of angles and frequencies. A more perfect union naturally augments the prospects of humanity becoming progressively exploratory, as we can read in Synergetics 217.04, Explorations in One's Geometry of Thinking. This requires synergetic mind commencing with the knowledge of synergy of synergies in time, size, temporal, weighable physical universe and metaphysical eternal universe unweighable conceptuality independent of size, time, space sizing. The conceptuality of the system's eternal pattern integrity is independent of size, where it is size alone that can come to zero, not the conceptuality. It is impossible to cogitate, to think, without synergetic mind's metaphysical environment, where all considerations and reconsiderations are weightless, independent of time, space sizing. This means to say that the concept's constant relative abundance, which is the tetrahedron's topological characteristics, can come to zero. We can say hypothetically, theoretically, of the vectors that their mass times velocity equals zero during the rudimentary awareness of general systems thinking, which involves systemic thought processing, relevant system information while integrating and differentiating essential clarifications, learning more about the temporal with increasing consciously concerned macrocosmic to microcosmic generalized conceptioning. In this ongoing learning process, let's persist exploring all aspects, all sides of the issue, searching for the accurate information that is required of our individual observations of the reenacting articulations, mindful when more consciously forming a more perfect union that is a natural tuning inability that can also intend reducing the tolerance magnitudes of the residual inaccuracies of the reenacting observations and articulations. Of course, we have no consciously coordinated innate awareness until such time as it dawns on our informed mentality that the inviolable integrity of the individual induces every man, woman, and child to consider its whole lifetime on planet Earth as a relevant human of approximately 342 million people in the USA population and one human of approximately 8 billion humans on planet Earth. We individually constitute a relevant input-output communication system of humanity's awareness of the metaphysical truth that produces the commonwealth realities of human life support. Until next time, thank you from Christina, Universe Citizen.